Live from Television Hill, this is a WJZ Alert Day.
Well, steady rain, high winds, flooding, what we're dealing with right now across our state on this alert day. This is a live look from Mobile 13 in Baltimore County on 695 driving east. Hello, everybody. I'm Denise Koch.
And I'm Vic Carter. The storm is expected to intensify over the next few hours with damaging winds and potential for widespread power outages.
So WJZ is on your corner with live team coverage as the storm moves through. Paul Gessler in Fells Point, Caroline Forbach in Annapolis, both areas known to flood in storms like this.
And our first weather team is closely following this storm. Meteorologist Steve Sawson is out with the first Alert Mobile Weather Lab, but we began with Chief Meteorologist Derek Beasley with what we can expect over the next several hours. Derek.
Well, guys, the storm's really just starting to ramp up across the area. We saw the rain move into the area this morning, and it's been raining all day long. We do expect the intensity of the rain to pick up over the next couple of hours, and that's where we expect some of the biggest flooding problems across the region here over the next several hours through probably later on tonight before things get a little better tomorrow morning. Here's a live look at the radar. This is kind of the wide sweep of what's going on. You can see the heavier rain that continues from the upper eastern shore through parts of northeast Maryland down into the Baltimore metro, and I do want to show you that the yellow and orange patches there indicate some of the moderate rain that is occurring. So you may see the rain let up for a little bit, and then you'll get under one of these patches, and the rain intensity will pick up a little bit more. Back into Frederick County, Carroll County, back into Montgomery County, as well as Washington County, you're still seeing the same thing. Some of the heaviest rain, though, falling along and east of I-95 right now at the present time. Middle and upper eastern shore, you can see that pretty decent amounts of rain beginning to fall over there. We've already seen upwards of about an inch in some spots. We've gotten about an inch, 1.15 inches here at the station. Other areas have picked up a little bit more than that. But you can see how long this storm extends all the way down to the Florida Peninsula, where tornado warnings now are in progress around Orlando and Jacksonville, and also down into parts of North Carolina. And I see all the yellow and orange that's across parts of central North Carolina, southwest Virginia. That's the heavier rain that's eventually going to be pushing in with the cold front later on this evening. And that's when the wind should begin picking up across the area. So again, high impacts from heavy rain as well as coastal flooding. Freshwater flooding of some of the rain that we're getting. We're going to be watching the area rivers and streams, and of course those wind gusts that'll be picking up here later on tonight. Wind advisory in effect for really some of the same areas that we saw yesterday. So that's for wind gusts 50 to 55 miles per hour. But there's been a change to the high wind warning this afternoon, and that is to extend it farther towards the west to include southeast Howard County and southeast Montgomery County, as well as Charles and Prince George's County. That is for the potential for wind gusts approaching 60 miles per hour here later on this evening. Now, right now, it looks like the strongest winds are going to start moving into the area after about 5, 6 o'clock and then continue through later on tonight. And, of course, we've got the flood threat and the coastal flood threat, which we'll talk about a little bit later in your full forecast. But let's send it out to meteorologist Steve Sawson, who's right now out in the mobile weather lab, I believe in the Canton area. Steve, what are you seeing? It looks like the rain's coming down there where you are. Steve?
Yeah, Derek, just to simplify it, it's a mess out here. And what's concerning is we're not even into the brunt of the storm here, and it was a lousy trip down here. So I think the decision to either close schools or leave early was a good one. And I have to tell you, we're not even into that strong part of the wind event, but when we get some of these heavier rain bands that come down, that wind is already starting to mix down. And I'll tell you, I've lost my umbrella twice now, and we're not even to the worst part of the storm. So we're here in Canton, a couple of stories playing out here down by the waterfront. Number one, it's pouring, as you can see with the weather lab. But as you can see, there's a steady stream of water that is just flowing down here. Now, obviously, it doesn't look that impressive now, but you got to remember, we just started to get into the good rainfall rates. To my backside, this is the inner harbor here and the boat ramp, and this is usually absolutely placid water. And even with the winds that we've been getting now, we're starting to get waves that are coming in here, and we're very concerned about high tide early tomorrow morning. And here we go into one of those heavier rain bands right now. As you can see, my umbrella is turning inside out, so this is actually going to be kind of useless probably from here on out. But what we're talking about is the waves meeting the water, and where these two combine, that water can't escape. So that's why we're really concerned about the high tide cycle tonight in our communities. And First Alert Chief Meteorologist Derek Beasley will be going through specific communities. This is not your normal high tide cycle, and so we will see moderate to potentially major flooding, which means that can damage property and stuff like that, even in the Baltimore area. So again, we're getting into the good rain bands, and K2, I don't know if you can capture it. I mean, here's another, there we go. this is not even the core of the strongest winds, and it's already mixing down. So it's going to be a long evening. We're going to be here to keep you safe. We just got out here, so we're going to evaluate the situation, give you much more information as the evening provides. But we definitely want you to take this storm seriously, and we'll be covering all the visuals for you so you know what to expect and how to prepare. Back over to you.
Derek, that certainly tells the story of all the weather that's out there right now. Of course, coastal neighborhoods are keeping a watchful eye on flooding, including Fells Point.
So that's where Paul Kessler has been all day as people prepared for the rain and wind. Paul.
Well, Denise and Vic, this has all the feel of one of those late season tropical storms. It is cold rain, it is windy, it is sideways at times. Not a good day for an umbrella. We've seen many of them break. The city's sandbag distribution effort here ended a couple hours ago, but as you can see, several filled bags remain for business owners and residents to stock up on these sandbags because this neighborhood and flooding know each other all too well.
It's not the January storm some want.
We need rain, and we'll have a beautiful spring because of it.
Temps too high for snow, but too low to enjoy.
I don't mind the cold, and I don't mind the rain, but cold rain, it's not the best.
It's a little miserable out. It'd be more fun if it was snow, like bring on the snow, This is kind of that in-between yucky weather.
Yucky is the word, the feeling of the day in Fells Point.
Yeah, yuck, that's a good word. Yuck.
Sandbags offer a defense of sorts to the heavy rainfall and the main concern to many who work and live here.
Flooding, of course. We're low-lying down here. We've flooded before, so definitely flooding.
Trying to prepare for it so I don't have 3 inches of water in my basement.
Nakia is thankful she was able to get a few bags to better protect her home.
Sandbags are very expensive and they are really hard to come by, so this is definitely a big help.
City parking garages also open free to nearby residents to get their cars off the streets before floodwaters rise.
There's not bad weather, just bad preparedness, bad clothing,
A flood watch through Wednesday morning and winds expected over 50 miles per hour.
Biggest concern for me is trees. We're in a historic neighborhood. We have lots of old trees and power loss, more so than water.
As Tuesday goes on, yuckiness may only get worse.
You just prepare for it as much as possible. And so if they say it's going to be a lot of rain, don't make any plans to be going out. You should have all the milk and toilet paper.
Back live now, and you're looking at the water taxi pier right now of these boats bouncing up and down. The water here at the Baltimore Harbor has really gotten a lot more choppier throughout the day, and the water level is obviously rising as well, as we're expecting another high tide here in about an hour or so. We'll keep an eye on the water level for you, but for now, we're going to go south to another very flood-prone urban area, Annapolis City Dock, where Caroline Forback is. Caroline, what's it look like there?
Well, Paul, the flooding has already started here in Annapolis. This park here at City Dock already underwater. You can see it is spilling into the street here around this traffic circle near Main Street. It looks like police have already put out some cones to try to reduce some of the traffic. There's that car, they're just taking the risk. This storm is supposed to bring tides as high as we've seen since Isabel, but earlier today, city leaders showed me a temporary solution that they brought back from across the pond.
Tonight we're going to experience a tide level of around 4.9 to 5.0 feet, which if we see that will end up being the 3rd or 4th highest tide on record.
With historic flooding expected to hit Maryland's capital, Burr Vogel, Director of Public Works for the city of Annapolis, keeps a close eye on the city's newest defense against a longtime burden.
We're looking at a new flood barrier that we've just installed this morning, received from a company called Two Barrier, and was represented by Dutch Water Prevention.
Vogel says the barrier took about 15 minutes to install and should protect the flood-prone Compromise Street from one of the highest tides the city has seen since Isabel.
Over the next 4 or 5 hours, this thing will fill up with water and then form a barrier which will keep the street dry.
It's an innovative solution city leaders brought back from their recent trip to the Netherlands. Mayor Gavin Buckley says while the technology from the Netherlands is working so far, it's only a temporary solution.
We're working to a long-term plan. That long-term plan is not going to be here until 25.
We'll have more on that long-term plan later tonight. Take a look at the parking area, City Dock here. It already looks like a river. The city says that the flooding is supposed to peak in the next couple hours or so, but we're going to stay downtown here and continue monitoring conditions. For now, reporting live here at City Dock, Caroline Forbach for WJZ.
All right, thank you very much, Caroline. Paul, WJZ keeping a close eye on power outages. Here's a live look at the outage map. There are now more than 2,700 customers being affected. The majority of those are in Baltimore County.
And as we continue to track this storm, make sure you download the WJZ app if you haven't done so already. It is free, and you can find it at the App Store or by scanning that QR code on your screen. With it, you'll get first alert weather and news updates sent straight to your phone.
All right, taking a live look at the Bay Bridge right now. The Maryland Transportation Authority says the bridge is under full wind restrictions. That means only cars, pickup trucks, flatbed trailers, buses, and heavy laden tractor trailers are allowed to cross. The MDTA says there could be temporary traffic holds if those winds pick up. And a reminder, there is no two-way traffic on the bridge right now. So let's check in with Alex Glaze. He's driving around in Mobile 13.
And Alex, we've heard a number of crashes today. How are roads looking right now where you are?
Well, I want to start by saying I'm not driving. Norris is driving. I want to make that very clear here. But yes, we've been on the road for probably about 30 minutes now, and we have seen at least one accident, but we've also seen drivers pull off to the side of the road, and a lot of people seem to be waiting out this storm at some points as this storm does intensify. Right now, we're on 95 South moving through Baltimore City, and as you can see, the conditions not ideal. And drivers have started to slow down and start to really pay attention to how their car is reacting to these wet roads. Now, earlier I spoke with a representative from the State Highway Administration, and he wanted to drive home the point that speed limits are meant for ideal conditions and that people should slow down and be mindful of the space that is between their car and the car in front of them, and also no distracted driving. You need to be alert and ready for anything that could be happening as this storm does intensify over the next couple of hours, guys. I'll send it back to you.
Okay, Alex, thank you very much. Stay safe out there. We send that message out to all of our crews and all the
Indeed,
people.
and all of you. All right, let's check back in with Chief Meteorologist Derek Beasley. Derek.
Yeah, guys, things are really starting to ramp up across the area. And as you just saw from Paul's live shot, as well as down towards where Steve is, those winds are really starting to gust and pick up across the area. And it looks like that's going to really be the case here for this evening. The winds and the rain gradually increasing as we go into the late evening and overnight hours before tapering off by tomorrow morning. Let me show you what's going on now with the radar. And you can see the rain continues to spread across the area. Started early this morning, and it's just been steady throughout the day and actually starting to get heavier. We're seeing one batch of the light to moderate rain now beginning to lift off towards the north and east. So along I-95, this is some of the heaviest rain is occurring now. A little bit of a break across parts of northern Virginia and far southern Maryland, but there's more where that came from back towards the west. Notice this batch that is back towards the south and west. It looks like a severe thunderstorm warning in effect here for areas just east of Charlottesville. So this is likely as a result of the area of rain here pulling down some of those stronger winds aloft. There's something in the upper atmosphere about 5,000 feet up. It's a phenomenon in meteorology that we call the low-level jet. Very strong winds just a few thousand feet up, and they're the strongest that we've seen around here. And I'm being very serious when I say that. We're talking winds 80, 90 miles an hour just a few thousand feet above our heads. And what happens is that rain pulls those strong winds down, and we get those strong wind gusts. And that is what we're expecting here for later on this evening. But you can see the back edge of the rainfall now starting to pull away. They had severe weather across the Gulf Coast late last night into this morning. Now that is starting to push over to eastern North Carolina. But this is what I'm talking about right here, that little band of yellow and red that's going to track up towards our way. That's where we're going to see some of the strongest wind gusts here in the next couple of hours. That'll continue here through later on tonight before tapering off here tomorrow morning. 100% chance for rain here through later this evening. The chances will begin tapering off, I'd say about 10 or 11 o'clock tonight, and only a slight chance of a shower or two as you wake up tomorrow morning. So again, as we put things into motion here, here's the back edge of the rainfall right here. So we will see the rain gradually start winding down here later on tonight, but not before causing more issues across the region. High impacts from heavy rain, coastal flooding, as well as freshwater flooding. Also, we're going to be watching the area streams and rivers for potential getting a little bit higher as well, and also, of course, those stronger wind gusts. Now, I do want to point this out. There's been a bit of a change to the high wind wind warning from earlier today. Now southeast Howard County, Charles County, as well as Prince George's County have been added to this, as well as southeast Montgomery. That is for wind gusts that could approach 60 miles an hour or just a little bit less than that. And given the fact that we've had so much rain today and in days before now, that the threshold, if you will, to blow the trees down is a lot lower than it was. So any of these kind of wind gusts, even a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust, will likely blow some of these trees down and create some power outages. Again, the wind advisory, we're still going to see winds strong, 50 miles an hour, even over on the upper eastern shore and back towards western Maryland. So just everybody's going to be dealing with strong winds here for this evening. So through 7 o'clock tonight, the winds beginning to pick up across the area. Notice as we go through 9 o'clock, we still got 40 and 50 mile an hour wind gusts. That's going to start shifting east by midnight over to the eastern shore. And then by tomorrow morning, it's still going to be windy, not as bad as it's going to be over the next several hours, but we're still going to have wind gusts 30, 40 miles an hour over parts of the eastern shore, 20 to 30 miles per hour in our area. Again, the flood watch in effect through later tonight and early tomorrow morning, still expecting 2 to 3 inches of rainfall, locally up to 4 in some spots. And the coastal flood warnings now in effect for a good chunk of the eastern shore. Looks like all of the eastern shore, southern Maryland, and of course, southern Baltimore County, as well as southern ports of Harford County. So we're going to kind of go down the line here from Cecil County down through Harford County, and you can see here we're expecting high tide right around 8 o'clock in the morning here. This is at Chesapeake Bay at Havre de Grace, and you can see we're going to have 2 high tide cycles here for tomorrow, 8 a.m. Wednesday and 8 p.m. on Wednesday. For southern Baltimore County, down towards the Key Bridge, of course, and up towards areas close to the Inner Harbor, we're talking about 2 to 3 foot of inundation above dry ground. This is the high tide is going to come in at about 5 a.m. here on Wednesday, and also the same thing for Bowling's Quarters here. We're looking at a 4 a.m. high tide there. Still expecting 2 to 3 feet potentially of inundation. Down towards Annapolis, we're looking at moderate flooding, perhaps even up to major flooding in some spots, 2 to 3 feet above water. Again, high tide coming in at 2 a.m. tomorrow, 2 p.m. on Wednesday. And over on the eastern shore, over towards the Claiborne area, we're looking at 2:32 for a high tide on Wednesday. That's 2:32 in the morning. And another high tide cycle, 3:29 in the afternoon. Last but not least, Tolchester Beach, major flooding expected there. High tide 5:32 p.m. That's in the next hour or so. And then as we go into, looks like tomorrow morning, another high tide cycle around 5 a.m. So again, notice how the rain pulls out of the area. That should all begin to wind down here by tomorrow morning. And then we turn towards the end of the week. On Friday, we're going to be looking at another storm system equally as powerful as it pushes into the region. So we're going to be talking about this again coming up on Friday into Friday night, early Saturday, then much colder behind it with a chance for snow showers, perhaps Monday into Tuesday. We'll be keeping you updated. Back to you.